All right, now we've got Illinois Congressman Peter Roskam. He's kind of concerned about some of the mixed messages we're getting about Iran. Obviously, as we're easing up on these sanctions and freeing funds to the Iranians, a new batch of sanctions because of misbehaving on this deal itself, the launching of intermediate missiles and the like. So, Congressman, to your point, it is confusing. The administration, though, says there are two different things we're looking at here. What do you say?
Well, I think the administration's being too cute by half, and I think that there's a great deal of ambiguity, Neil, about the message that the administration is communicating. So think about it. The Iranians a couple of days ago humiliated 10 sailors. They shot off ballistic missiles in violation of UN protocols, and they shot a rocket within 150 yards of a U.S. naval vessel. And then they get $1.7 billion in a settlement. All the while, there's $2 billion in judgments against Iran for U.S. victims of Iranian terror. So you see how this is topsy-turvy. You don't know if you're a foot or horseback with the administration in the types of message that they're communicating. And when in doubt, the administration is making it very clear, I think, and I think your previous guest is proof of this, that they're desperate for a deal. So almost no matter what the Iranians do, the administration is going to give them the benefit of the doubt moving forward.
All right, but they make a distinction, Congressman, you can help me with this, between these violations on the missile thing, which weren't sanctions, but not so much for violating this agreement as much as violating whatever agreements we had with the United Nations. All of this just is too in the weeds for me, but it seems like they've lied, and it seems like they've broken at least one covenant, so why can't we just hold back until all covenants are clear?
Well, look, there's another point here, too, and this is a deal that has never been signed, right? Congressman Mike Pompeo from Kansas and others have
and it hasn't been signed by Iran. That was the kicker. Iran hasn't even signed.
Yeah, that's right. So what is it? If it's not an agreement that's reduced to writing, then it's nothing. It's a political understanding, and it's interpreted by the administration. So the administration has all of the tools to interpret these things in a way that's most favorable to them. That is the administration. And I think, Neil, this is an example of a president that is desperate for a foreign policy legacy here. He basically went to the negotiations and they said, look, we're not going to leave without a deal. The Iranians took full advantage of that, and now they've got the administration on their heels. If the administration were in such a strong position, then the terror judgments against Iran would be paid right now. Instead, they paid $1.7 billion in an old negotiation, and the Iranians, you see how the Iranians have the better end of this deal.
All right. Well, John Kerry was saying this morning, this is a great deal, and the release of hostages as well shows that we're making progress. I want you to react to this. One second.
Iran asked for many other people. They asked for people with criminal records. We didn't touch any of those. We said, no, we will not do that. We will not let anybody out who committed murder, any terrorist, anybody else. These are people with sanctions violations. So we feel very comfortable that the United States of America held on to its principles.
Held on to its principles. What do you think, Congressman?
Oh, look, this is the same Secretary of State who came to Congress and said that no deal is better than a bad deal, and then admitted that there was no alternative, which is internally inconsistent. So I think that for John Kerry now to be asserting that this trade, that is 5 innocents in exchange for 7 criminals out of jail, and calling the dogs off of 14 people who are probably deserving of further law enforcement inquiry, is another example of poor negotiations, too desperate to make a deal. And that's all fine and well and good if it's only a legacy. But what we're talking about, obviously, is the security of the West. I don't think that the administration realizes the nature of the regime that they're up against, because if they were, they wouldn't give $100+ billion of sanctions relief, money that goes anywhere that the Iranians deploy, and the administration even admits some of that is going to be going for terror against our friends and against the United States.
All right, it is weird. It is confusing, and it does seem a bit inconsistent. Congressman, thank you. Good seeing you again.
Thanks, Neil.